Imagine this. You walk into a Russian apartment building. You look for the elevator buttons. There it is. 13. Not skipped. Not replaced with 12A. Not magically turned into 14. Just 13. Sitting there. Proud. And people are actually happy to live on the 13th floor. If you're from the US or the UK, your brain goes, wait, what? No way. That's the cursed number. That's horror movie territory. But in Russia, 13 can be lucky. Like actually lucky. This is not a joke. This is not a prank. And it's not just we don't care about 13. In some Russian traditions, 13 is literally seen as a positive number. So how on earth did we in the West decide 13 is evil? While Russians went, relax, it's fine. It's even kind of nice. Let's dig into this because the story behind it is honestly mind-blowing. First, quick reality check. Yes, Russians know about the Western fear of 13. Many have watched the same Hollywood horror movies you have. Friday the 13th, creepy hotels, unlucky plane seats, all of it. But if you ask a random Russian on the street, hey, is 13 unlucky? You're very likely to hear something like, not really. Or even, for me it's lucky. Already weird, right? Meanwhile, in the US and UK, 13 has such a bad reputation that many hotels simply skip room 13. A lot of tall buildings jump from floor 12 to 14. Some airlines avoid row 13 on planes. Even some hospitals don't have operating room 13. That's how deep the fear goes. So where did the Western nightmare start? A big part of it is tied to Christian tradition in Western Europe. You've probably heard the story. 13 people at the Last Supper. Jesus and 12 apostles. The 13th guest at the table, Judas, betrays him. So, in Western imagination, 13 people at a table equals bad omen. From there, you get dinner superstitions, Friday the 13th panic, and so on. But here's the twist. Russia is also a Christian country historically, mainly Eastern Orthodox. So why didn't they absorb the exact same fear? Because the way religion mixed with culture in Russia is totally different. In the West, especially in medieval Catholic Europe, numerology around the Bible got super intense. Numbers like 7 and 12 became holy. 13 became the one that broke the harmony. And Western culture leaned hard into that symbolism. In Russia, the Orthodox tradition has its own symbolic numbers, but it didn't obsess over 13 as the evil one in the same everyday way. People worried more about other signs, spilling salt, breaking mirrors, crossing paths with a black cat, whistling indoors, and so on. And here comes something insane. In Russian, there's no ancient, scary word built around 13 the way triskaidekaphobia exists in English science language. Most people just say, fear of number 13 in normal words. That's how low-key the whole thing is. But how did 13 end up being seen as lucky in some Russian contexts? To get that, you have to understand a huge cultural theme in Russia. The idea of baker's dozen didn't develop there the same way, but generosity with a little extra did. In many Slavic and Russian folk traditions, an extra item, an extra piece, or an extra step beyond the usual number can be seen as a blessing, not a curse. 12 might be complete, but 13 can feel like overflow. More than enough. Abundance. There's also the whole Russian thing where people love to flip negativity on its head. It's almost a national hobby. If something is considered bad somewhere else, many Russians go, "Pfft, watch this. We're going to own it." So when they heard that the West is terrified of 13, a lot of people reacted the opposite way. Oh, you think it's unlucky? Good. For us, it'll be lucky. You literally see this attitude in real life. Some Russians will choose the 13th apartment on purpose because it's easier to get. Foreigners avoid it? Perfect. Cheaper or available? Even better. It becomes an advantage, not a curse. On Russian social media, you'll find people bragging, "My car plate has 13 in it, I never have accidents." Or, "My kid was born on the 13th, and everything's been great. Is that scientific? No. Is it real Russian psychology? Yes. Now let's talk about laws, rules, and official stuff, because this is where it gets really different from the West. In many Western countries, the fear of number 13 leaks into design and planning. Architects skip 13th floors. Builders number floors 12, 14, 15, and quietly erase 13 from reality. In Russia, there is no law, no building code, no official rule that tells you to avoid the number 13. Nothing. Zero. Even more, Russian norms for construction and apartment planning literally list floors in normal order. If a building has 16 levels, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 13, 16. No one in the government cares about your number phobia. Train cars? You can buy seat 13. Hotels? Plenty of rooms 13. Airplanes? Many Russian airlines keep row 13 like it's no big deal. And because there's no legal or official superstition, people grow up seeing 13 all around them. As something normal. Every day. Boring, even. When a number is just everywhere, used normally, your brain doesn't mark it as cursed. Habits literally reprogram your fear. Now add one more layer. Russian Orthodox calendar and holidays. In Russia, big religious dates are tied to specific days, but 13 itself is not framed as cursed. So you don't grow up hearing, "Oh no, it's the 13th, don't travel, don't get married, don't do surgery." Instead, you hear, "Don't whistle indoors, the money will fly away," or "Don't shake hands across a threshold, it's bad luck." Same human urge for superstition, just pointed at different targets. There's also something funny about Friday the 13th. In the US and UK, that date is like the Super Bowl of bad luck. People cancel flights, some skip surgery, horror movies cash in. In Russia, Friday the 13th is mostly seen as a Western meme. People joke about it online, post spooky GIFs, but it's not deeply rooted. You'll see things like, "Guys, it's Friday the 13th, don't go anywhere," followed by a laughing emoji. If anything, some people treat it as a good day to test their luck. Go on a date, sign a contract, do something bold. Because if you believe it's lucky, then it's lucky for you. Now let's go deeper into the psychology. Why can one culture fear a number so much that it changes architecture, while another culture shrugs and even flips it into something positive? Humans are pattern-seeking machines. We hate randomness. When something bad happens on a certain date or with a certain number, the brain connects them. In the West, centuries of stories, sermons, folktales, and later, movies, all lined up to tell you, 13 equals bad. Your brain stores that. Every small coincidence then reinforces it. In Russia, the brain just never got that programming, so 13 stayed open, neutral. Then, once Russians saw Western panic around it, some went, "Cool, we'll make it our weird lucky thing." It's like cultural recycling. Take someone else's fear. Turn it into your charm. There are even cute, wholesome uses of 13 in Russia. Some couples see 13 as against the system and get married on the 13th for fun. Some kids pick 13 as their sports number just because it feels edgy and cool. Like, "I'm not scared of what scares you." Think about that for a second. The exact same symbol. Same two digits, 1 and 3. In one place, it shuts down whole floors of hotels. In another, it's printed on a kid's football jersey with zero drama. That is how strongly culture edits reality. Now here's a little mind-bending twist. Russians have their own bad and good numbers too. They're just different from the Western list. For example, in Russian, the number 7 is very positive. You'll hear sayings like 7 Fridays in a week or 7 spans in the forehead for a very smart person. People like 7, 3, and 9 in a lot of contexts. But you know what really freaks some Russians out? Not 13. It's things like getting exactly 40 of something in certain rituals. The number 40 is tied to mourning traditions after someone dies. So 40 candles or 40 items can feel spooky in some contexts, Again, same human pattern making. Different numbers, different stories. The point isn't which number is objectively lucky or cursed. There is no such number. The point is, meaning comes from stories, not from math. Those stories can come from religion, or from old village customs, or from modern movies and memes. In the West, 13 fell into the dark story. In Russia, it got a mostly neutral story, and then a cheeky, rebellious, sometimes even lucky one. So when you see a Russian happily living on floor 13 or proudly posting their train ticket with seat 13, you're not watching a fearless superhero. You're just watching someone whose culture never taught them to be afraid of that number. And if you grew up terrified of 13, here's a slightly insane thought. You can literally choose the Russian version of the story. Right now. Next time you see 13, you can say, okay, maybe this is my little bonus number, my extra piece of luck, my Slavic plot twist. Because once you understand that one culture's nightmare is another culture's neutral Tuesday, it gets a lot harder to be scared of a digit painted on a door. So, what do you think now? Still avoiding room 13 at the hotel? Or are you low-key tempted to book it just to see what happens? If this changed how you look at 13, even a little bit, do one thing for me. Hit like, smash that subscribe button, and share this with someone who is insanely scared of Friday the 13th. Tell them, in Russia, this is literally a lucky day. What's your excuse? And stick around, because in the next videos we're going to dive into even more mind-blowing laws, customs, and hidden rules from around the world that will make you question everything you thought was normal. Turn on the bell so you don't miss it. And remember, the number doesn't have power. The story you believe does. See you on the next one.